Chapter 4. Into the Lion's Den. The next few days passed in a blur. Every moment felt like walking on a tightrope, balancing between the life I had always known and the one I was about to risk. My mother continued to remind me that my future was set, that Adrian was the right choice for our family. Each conversation we had felt like a knife twisting deeper into my chest. Adrian's silence over the past few days unnerved me. I expected him to push harder, to make more demands after his proposal, but he had been oddly quiet, leaving me to stew in my thoughts, waiting for his next move. It was a power play. I knew that much. He wanted me to feel the weight of his absence, to let the silence do the work for him. He wanted me to come to him. But that wasn't going to happen. Not on his terms. Carter had been cautious in our interactions since our meeting at the park. He didn't reach out often, but when he did, it was always under the guise of something harmless. A simple text about meeting for coffee. A casual remark in a crowded room. He had to be careful. We both did. Adrian's reach extended further than I had initially thought. If we weren't careful, he'd know what we were up to before we made our move. One evening, after another tense dinner with my parents, I received a message from Carter. "It's time. Meet me at the Blackwood Gala tomorrow night. I'll be waiting in the East Wing." The Blackwood Gala. The thought of attending one of Adrian's events made my stomach twist, but it was the perfect cover. The city's elite would be there, a sea of people and opulent distractions. If there was any chance to gain leverage over Adrian without him noticing, this was it. I stared at the message for a moment, my fingers trembling as I typed out my response. "I'll be there." The following evening, I stood in front of my mirror, adjusting the elegant black dress that clung to my body in all the right places. The gown was a statement. Bold, defiant. I wasn't going to blend in tonight. If I was going to step into the lion's den, I was going to make sure everyone knew I was there. I pinned up my hair in a sleek twist, leaving a few loose strands to frame my face. My makeup was flawless, but there was a storm brewing in my eyes. Tonight was the night. I would face Adrian, walk into his world, and finally take control of my own fate. As I arrived at the Blackwood estate, the grandeur of it all hit me like a wave. The mansion was sprawling, a testament to the Blackwood family's wealth and influence. The driveway was lined with luxury cars, and a soft glow of chandeliers spilled through the towering windows. The gala was in full swing by the time I stepped inside. Waiters glided through the crowd with trays of champagne, and the sound of laughter and clinking glasses filled the air. Everywhere I looked, there were faces I recognized. Business tycoons, politicians, heirs, and heiresses. This was Adrian's world. These were his people. And then, as if summoned by my thoughts, I saw him. Adrian stood near the grand staircase, dressed in a sharp black tuxedo, his presence commanding as always. His dark hair was perfectly styled, and those piercing blue eyes scanned the room, calculating, watching. A shiver ran down my spine as our gazes met. He smiled, a slow, dangerous smile that sent my heart racing for all the wrong reasons. I forced myself to hold his gaze, refusing to look away. He couldn't know that I was here for anything other than the gala. He couldn't know that tonight. I wasn't just another pawn in his game. Adrian made his way toward me, weaving effortlessly through the crowd, his smile growing as he approached. "Juliet," he said, his voice smooth, almost teasing. "You look stunning. I was beginning to wonder if you would show." I arched an eyebrow, keeping my tone neutral. "And miss one of the most anticipated events of the year? I wouldn't dream of it." He chuckled, but there was an edge to it. "Always so sharp. I admire that about you." Before I could respond, I caught a glimpse of Carter from across the room, standing near the entrance to the East Wing, just as we had planned. He gave me a subtle nod, signaling that the time was right. I needed to get away from Adrian. "I think I'll grab a drink," I said, stepping away from him. "Enjoy your evening, Adrian." His hand shot out, grabbing mine before I could fully turn. The contact was firm, almost possessive. "Don't wander too far, Juliet," he said, his voice dropping to a low murmur. "I still have plans for us tonight." I swallowed, forcing a smile. "I'm sure you do." He let go of my hand, watching me as I slipped away into the crowd. My heart pounded in my chest as I made my way toward the east wing, where Carter was waiting. The farther I moved from the main ballroom, the quieter it became. The opulent sounds of the gala faded into the background as I reached the secluded corridor where Carter stood, his expression tense. "Did anyone see you?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "No," I replied, glancing over my shoulder to make sure we weren't being followed. "What's the plan?" Carter's eyes darkened. "Adrian keeps his most sensitive documents in a private office. It's just down this hallway. If we can get in, we might be able to find the leverage we need." "And what exactly are we looking for?" He hesitated, running a hand through his hair. "Anything that ties him to the darker side of his business. Illegal deals, offshore accounts. Anything could ruin him." I nodded, steeling myself. This was it. There was no turning back now. We moved quickly and quietly through the corridor, stopping in front of a heavy wooden door. Carter pulled out a small device and began working on the lock. My pulse quickened as I glanced around, half expecting Adrian to appear out of nowhere. "Got it," Carter whispered as the door clicked open. We slipped inside, the room bathed in soft amber light. It was exactly what I expected. Polished mahogany furniture, bookshelves lined with leather-bound volumes, and a massive desk dominating the center of the room. Carter moved to the desk, rifling through papers while I scanned the shelves for anything out of place. My heart raced as I realized how much danger we were in. If Adrian found us here. "Juliet," Carter's voice was urgent, pulling me from my thoughts. I turned to see him holding a file, his expression grim. "You need to see this." I crossed the room and looked at the document he held out. My blood ran cold as I scanned the page. Offshore accounts, bribery, blackmail. It was all there, laid out in black and white. "This is it," I whispered. "This is the leverage we need." Carter nodded. His expression remained tense. "We need to get out of here before—" The door creaked open behind us, and we both froze. Adrian stood in the doorway, his face unreadable, but his eyes burned with cold fury. "Well, well," he said softly, his voice dangerously calm. "I didn't expect to find you two here." My heart stopped. We were caught.